something that I needed to do to be able to breathe. I had to get it out of the system.
So 16 years?
Of location scouting.
Yes.
No, the idea was 28 years. And we were writing it for that. So 16 years of location scouting and about 9 years of looking for the child. And then we found the child and we decided to make a movie within the next, I said 2.5 months. I said 2.5 months, that's a different child. So I just said after all that wait, it's very much the film language what they call hurry up and wait. So I would just wait and then hurry up.
It was never a screenplay. This was
in a strange kind of way, there was a structure written. Actually, Omkar, are you here? Says, did you get that box? I'll just wait. So there was kind of a structure, but the reason we couldn't really get it financed or anything is that I would go around telling people that this story is going to be written by the child. And I just said, we will have a rough structure and the child can change what they want. So by the end of it, we did have some form of structure and about 20, I think we ended up in about 28 countries, but I had all the location pictures of all the places so that once I got the story from her in the hospital, then we discussed where I thought the story could happen, and that kind of informed the rest of it. But otherwise, there was a kind of a structure, but I mean, you can't tell a child that over what to do. She tells you.
So the hospital scenes were shot first.
That's right. I think what we did was we did the, thank you. We did the, thank you, sir. So what we did was the hospital stuff was, what I decided was that there's only one film that I've seen something like this work. It's a very small French film called Ponette, in which there was somebody talking to a child. And I mean, it's very easy to get a child to be naturalistic if you don't have a plot. You just you just wait from over there, and the child takes its nose, it does whatever, and if you tell a photo, you'll make it in. But that's the only film I thought that the camera was here, and the kid was doing these things that I could not, I still have not fathomed how to make. So I decided to make a roll forward, one back. I said that is the style I chose. So I just said I'm going to be in there and do that with the child. So I calculated, I mean my nieces and my sisters and all are here, I calculated with their kids and all that, at what age do they stop believing and start acting? And it was kind of 4. And after that time you have to wait till about 9 before you find anybody who can act. And then for, as I said, about 9 years, wherever I'd go to film, I'd send people with cameras and I'd just put a white shot onto a school and just talk to them, and I'll find the child, boy, girl, it didn't matter. And I was looking all the time, and then I saw this child, and she was amazing. And then I got her, and I asked the teacher and what had happened was she had told, the teacher had told the class that it's a documentary, and they'll be talking to a handicapped person. So he just tell them stories. And he'll tell them stories, and I just thought like, oh, okay. So I asked him, because I thought, was the girl slow, or what was it? Because she was about almost 6. And then I found out she didn't speak English. So what he was saying was that I got that benefit of about 1.5 years in the person thinking that maybe it's a language barrier, why things aren't clearer. So I just said like, this is the person I want. They said, okay, we can give her acting lessons. I said, no, keep her far away from actors. Just like nothing what to do. They just, we'll explain to her as we go along. And then I decided to just sew that into how we were going to do the movie. I just said like that we will tell the girl every day, scene by scene. So the scene was, the whole film was shot chronologically. So the first day she saw him is the first day she saw him. The second day is the second, third scene. And as we were doing it, I also told everybody, because you could do that before, I guess, IMDb that time, that nobody knew that when I've cast this actor, Lee Pace had only been in one film before that, and he had played a woman. So nobody knew who he was. He was called Soldier's Girl. So I just said, I told everybody in the crew, including the girl, that basically the person is the handicap. And in the fantasy story, the hero is the girl's father. So I just said, he'll just talk to you and he'll tell you these things. So nobody in the crew knew that he could walk, except the editor, me, and then the one actor who was playing the father, because I had to tell him that your role is not as big as you think it is. So he was a bit heartbroken, but he came along, and then we did the film, and then of course there were certain things we were ready for, but because I think I'd sown the inherentness of the problem into the structure, that everything that she threw my way was, now she showed up the first day, her front two teeth were missing. If you're doing a studio film, you're kind of dead. And I just thought, no, it's okay, we'll put the strength in the teeth. And as she speaks, the teeth will come out. And as she started speaking, her English got better, she started to understand better. The problem was after about 10 days, she started speaking with an Indian accent. I would slow it down and use the Romanian parents to make another layer of Chinese whisper. That I would speak to them and they would tell her. Everybody was misunderstanding everything. So when we finished the hospital sequences, I told everybody that he could walk, and they were some people were angry, some people were stunned, some people, and I think his daughter is here, the cameraman who actually, I was going to shoot this with my college professor, and then just about a month before we shot it, I kind of felt there was some problem in that particular one. I needed the girl to understand that there was just one madman on the set. And I just thought I'd shoot somebody else, and we couldn't work some sort of a deal out, and we had a very communist deal on this one that everybody did. The guy who cleaned the set, the focus puller, the camera, everybody had the same paycheck. So I just said, when we travel, everybody goes first class or economy. So you'll be surprised how many people will lie down from a truck for you when they know somebody's not sleeping better. So we did all that, and then I turned to my loader, who had that time loaded for me for 15 years, and I said, do you want to be the cameraman? He said, I haven't done anything before, and I just said, I've sussed the whole thing, I've got all the locations, and then I shot a commercial, I think that weekend, back something, and I said, you confident? He said, yeah, and then I shot the movie with him. So for me, he was angry, he was saying, like, you could have trusted me, and I said, it kind of doesn't have anything to do with trust. I just wanted a situation that if the child buys it, I didn't want the other people around the child acting. Because if you've ever been on a film set, no matter how dire the place, if you're shooting in a concentration camp or whatever, after some time the Nazi jokes come out, and this comes out, and all that just goes there. And I was just scared that when they're lighting this guy's handicapped, they'll stand on his bed, they'll be lighting and everything, but since they thought he was handicapped, they were very delicate around him, and all the time the girl was correctly terrified on how she was. I knew that if anything was wrong, we had a problem in the script. So she was kind of allowed to be boss and everything. And the unsung hero, of course, is somebody like Lee Pace, who knows where it has to go. The girl can do anything, and he still has to take the structure. What was the question? So Lee just was the guy who was in charge, because the girl could do anything. And I think the only person that probably never forgave me was the loader. Because what we did was, I didn't know when the film was going to finish. So I just said, we will have the wrap party before we start the movie. Because I didn't know, because it took 4 years, 20 years, so I just said, so when we're having the wrap party, I saw Lee, because Lee would come every day, it would take half an hour to get him off the wheelchair inside and everything. It became a process. And then I saw him at the party. He was there in the wheelchair, and there was another person with the wheelchair next to him. And Lee was sweating bullets. And it was the loader's, dad. And I went up there to have the conversation, and he just said, you gotta tell him. And what I heard was, he was telling him that, you know what, in Hollywood and everywhere, they make a movie about a handicap, and they never use handicapped people. This director, amazing. I told him, Lee, I've got people here who's been for 15 years. We don't break that rule. So I left. So on the day, I know when we told everybody that he could walk, when we finished the last hospital scene, people started crying and everything. And this guy, who I especially made a beeline to a point, he just walked away. And maybe one day he'll let me forgive me, but I don't think that's on the table.
There was a time in Hollywood where people were able to make 5 or 6 movies a year, and they learned how to direct films.
Still happening in Bollywood. Yeah.
In Bollywood. But for you, that was kind of making commercials and industrials? That's how you...
No industrials, never fallen that low. And also, I love making commercials. For me, it has been everybody, when we started, they make commercials, music videos so they could do commercials, they make commercials so they could do films. I just did not want to get out of commercial. The best place to sharpen my teeth, I've met some of the sharpest people, some of the dumbest too. Some of the sharpest people in this, Sir John, if he hasn't walked away yet. He was one of the people who gave me the break at that particular time for the first commercial. So for me, I just thought that is the place to learn. It is the best school. But nobody sees that as an end. I did. It just, for me, I always say, I can't feel like a prostitute in love with his profession. I mean, I would sleep with them for free, but they gave me money. And I learned so much. So for me, it was just something that I loved doing, and you could tell when people were with me. So I still, it's been, I mean, when we came out of school, 3 years you did commercials, you were the big guy. It's been 35 years I've been doing commercials. I love them. I just think they're just something, the best place to try to do technology, the best place to be able to shorten things to long things, and it might not be everybody's cup of tea, that film. I mean, here we kind of have a bit of an echo chamber. I'm sure people, and you saw it in the right format. You know, you saw it in the cinema with a captive audience. People will sometimes put it on the phone and say, it didn't really work for me, you know, I looked at it on the phone for a while, so it's not meant for that. So when you kind of have a captive audience, there's a lot of cooking that needs to be done out here. And in an aeroplane or in something like this, you have your captive, and you think there must be somewhere it's going, and you give the benefit of the doubt. So that worked for me. But I do love ads, not industry.
And music video, of course.
Yes, different animal. I love music videos, but I don't think I'm good for music videos because I think I do strongly believe music videos shouldn't exist, because the thing is, music has been around and so much richer for so long that no matter how bad your imagination is, next time you hear the song, you can change what you're visualizing. So unless you're seeing a band performance, it's just to come up with something. I mean, like, these guys work on incredible songs, incredible ideas, and then this brown guy comes and says, right, you're gonna do this. So it doesn't really work. And also, I think, you know, Spike Jones, Mark, and even Fincher, you know, some of the best guys who did those, they had it right. I mean, in England, I think they had the terminology, the nomenclature of it, right? They called them promos, that they were advertisement for the song. They just embraced it. I think here they were kind of, it was looked as an art form. They spent a lot of money, they did everything, and I never really did. For me, music is a bit sacrosanct. So when we did music videos, I had to love the song, and it was very much more than this film, Cart Ahead of the Donkey, that I would literally go in and say, I have an idea, let me see if your song fits. And that's not really right. So with Fincher's, like, they used to always have a team, they hear the song, they write to the artist, they write a song for the artist, and they come up with something. I don't. I only have so many ideas, and I just can't listen to it, and I go, oh, that fits there, this doesn't fit. And then the first video that I did out of school was very successful, and I just thought, it can only go downhill from here. So I tried many times, but only the kind of songs I like folk, and I like classical, and there really wasn't a market for them. So I just thought, you know, if you have to be a prostitute, might as well do it in advertising.
Do you keep a notebook? Do you keep sketches?
No, I don't sketch. Even my writing is so horrific that the writer that I'm working with out here right now, Zachariah, is here, that he knows that if I write something, and the same thing with drawing, if I don't explain it to somebody in 7 minutes, I don't know what it is. It is horrible. So I don't keep notes, I don't do that. And I just, Nico's here, Nico's husband, and he is what I guess the best word would be, he's my vomitorium. So whenever I see anything good, I just tell it to him. And somehow he files it somewhere. And then I go somewhere else and say, where can this fit? And Nico will go, blah, and then.
And yet you have consistent collaborators. You put together a solid crew, and of course, Aiko, the costume designer.
Aiko Ishioka was, I mean, I really wouldn't call her a collaborator. I think she was incredible, and she worked like me, which is like, show me who's boss, I salute him, and then as long as nobody can tell the boss what to do, she would get away with anything. And that worked for me in the early days. Funny enough, even in advertising, that you had people like, Sir John, who you just knew that there was nobody above him. All you had to do is make that person happy. And Aiko's situation was like that. That she would come in with me and she would just say I would explain to her the situation, and this was the first one that we did. And for me, the cell was the first one that we did, and we were very aware of her work. Me and Nico had been ripping her work off because we used to see her advertising that she was doing in Japan, and we never saw those ads. We just saw the photos, And we were like, this woman is incredible. So when we were doing the cell, I asked them, can I have echo? And they just said, oh, something like echo. I said, can I have echo? Oh, something like echo. Can I have echo? I just did what up and then introduced. It was the best thing that could have happened. And that is not a person that, you have to understand, you have to trust her. Because what she talked to you about with the language barrier and everything, it was just, when you need somebody to push the envelope, I think the expression is, think outside the box. Echo had no clue what a box is. You had to rein her in. So she just went so wild. You make this incredible suit where people are supposed to fight, and it takes 5 men to carry it. And he said, Echo, he can't even walk in that suit. And she said, does he have to walk? And I thought, she just completely redefined what she was doing, and I was okay with that. So when we did the fall, Nico and Echo were together. And so for me, I had her on ground zero. So we would just talk, and every character she would make these things that worked out, except the hardest one was odious. Because when I would say villain, I think maybe in that culture, it just turned into a monster. You would just be there in these monsters. And I just think, he's not really a bad guy. And first of all, the odious character was never supposed to be that character. It was supposed, until we've been working on it for close to Indian, and a month before shooting, it was supposed to be the hypochondriac in the room. He was the villain. And then suddenly when we were there, my girlfriend that particular time dumped me. I had nowhere else to go, and she actually showed up here with her child. I had no idea, what to do with myself. I was making that particular film, and Nico was the one who said, isn't it better that he makes the villain out of a guy who's not really a bad guy? He's the star of the movie who ended up with this thing, and he just makes that person a villain. So, and then I just said, well, that works very well. Because for me, I switched it, except for one line, I would say. So I switched the two characters, and the other character that I wanted to play, Odious, who's the film star, he actually wasn't available on the days we wanted. And then suddenly a month later, I called him and I just said, not only are you that part, I'll be scheduled, but you're also the main villain. And I've not seen him for 30 years, and an hour ago, I just saw him today. He just showed his he's not a monster, he's like the girl makes him a villain. And then in the end, the funniest thing it was that we just went to quote, Frank in Blue Velvet. He just said Frank, you're one suave fuck. We just said you take his same clothes and just put them in silk. He's just more suave. And that was the answer. With everybody else, we had gone to such extremes to take the child's imagination. And that was the answer. So for me, just till the last second, because there was nobody else to answer to, I tried really hard to make the movie, and then when nobody would finance it, then the only answer was just from my brother said everything, we go on this magical mystery tour, and after 4 years, practically bankrupted. I was ready for all of that. What I wasn't ready for that when it comes out, everybody just goes, that's a piece of shit. And I ended up with absolutely no audience, and it was a 50-50, and I think everybody goes with tomato meters, which I think is a horrendous marking system. Because if you find films that are not offensive, that get 6 out of 10, it will be the greatest film ever made. So you end up when you go to tomato meters, probably it's a good film. But a Shawshank Redemption is not the greatest film ever made, but it will be 100 out of 100. So and then somewhere in between you find Birth, Jonathan Glaze's film that I love, is at 50%. Because it's polarizing and it offends people and it doesn't. So it just became that, and critics and buyers, they are buyers specifically, they look for, is it something that we can just say this, and mine wasn't. So it just turned out that nobody wanted to distribute it, so I tried to give it away for free, and then nobody wanted it, and I worked for another 2 years, and then we put it out ourselves, and then a whole bunch of people saw it, and they kept seeing it again and again, and kept telling other people about it. So about 2 years ago when I made the only second other personal film that I made, which is Dear Jussie, everybody kept bringing up The Fall, and I just told my brother, maybe it's time to go bankrupt again. I can't have to go to make it. On the other hand, the same things happened to Dear Jussie. That's the only second personal film that I've made. And the only film I've ever made that critics have actually liked. And nobody wants it.
And everybody come and see that this week. It's really impressive. And
It is
completely different register. From
It is. It's on Tuesday. I mean, as personal as it gets. I mean, this is kind of like, when I answer to nobody, you gotta get a very black coffee. So that's basically what you have here, and so is Dear Justice. So I'm hoping it doesn't take 20 years for people to see it. So thank you for taking that on, and I'm hoping some of this crowd will come for that day. Have a look at it. He sent the wrong box. I'm taking No, he sent it in that box. This is not what I well, I'll leave it. I'll put it here in the end if everybody wants to take a look, because what it was when people in finances were looking at it, I made a box. And that box was what I used to pitch to people. I would go, they would say, what's the movie about? Do you have a script? And I would say, no, but I know the things the girls stole. And I would open the box and try to tell them the story. Like, this is Alexander the Great for her, this is why I had everything. No, that's the real one. That's not that he sent the wrong box. It's all right. I'll keep it here in just a minute. So all I can say is that this is the real box, but there were 5 of those, and I tried to show financiers and everybody. So if you really want, it's a good thing to come and learn from how not to ever get money for your movie. Just listen to the script. I was going for the heart, and as John, the producer, will tell you, most producers don't have one. And in the end, I just ended up with that. I'm sorry, I told you I was going to bring that box, that is, I guess, in LA. It has things that, what Alexander the Great will look like. It's just this really incredibly kitsch, gay, wonderful guy, but it's so over the top, he wouldn't be able to beat 2 guys in a fight with that, the way what he's wearing. But nothing needed to be practical. So all that kind of stuff I carried, and I tried to pitch to people. And Fincher tried really hard. He introduced me to the only billionaires I ever met, and they were all like, we're with you, but that's shit. we don't get, that's not how you sell a movie. And they were right.
Well, I disagree.
No, for financing, because they would say, how many countries? I said, I don't know. Have you found this thing? Is that the script? No. The child will write it. How old is the child? I said, don't know. Boy, girl, I don't know. Thank you. Yeah, this is just the real stuff. Of course, an art director sent the real thing. But I wanted to show you what I was trying to pitch with, which wasn't correct. And I would say script is great, and then me and Nico had been working for 18 years, then we did end up with a phenomenal script writer, Dan Gilroy, and he did 2 things. One, our script was like it was written for, horrible. Because I wouldn't let Nico change a lot of the stuff, I just was leaving it very open. Dan made it readable. And the second thing, he pitched me something. He said, this will make your film work. And I thought of it. And truly, that would have made the film work, and I shot it down. And it was literally the idea that when he told it to me, he said, the Hitchcockian cliche that if 2 people are going to have a boring conversation, just cut to the bomb on the way first. And then there's tension in the room. So Dan's thing was, if you introduce that the guy is, has got a plan, ulterior motive, and he's trying to get these bills up early, then you already know that there is an agenda. I thought that really hard for a day. I'm sure my brother would want that, because I would have saved all our money. And I just kind of went like, no. Because I wanted to do it the other way around. I said, what if you think this boring conversation, which I am saying is the visuals, you think the movie's about that, and then I could pull the rug. Because I thought if somebody does that up front, I have to spend half my film making you like this guy. And I just said, I want you to like this guy. And then to use the Groucho Marx's line, you let the audience outguess you, and then you double cross them. So for me, that was what I was going for. So I just said, I want them to think it's about eye candy. And the thing is, a lot of specifically Weinstein hated the whole process and what I was doing. And on the time when I went out there, he asked me if he could buy the film before the Toronto screening. And I just said, no, everybody sees it together. And when we went in, the movie started, and he had almost like Hitchcock, he had a very identifiable profile. He got up from the first seat, went left, went right, went that way, went and shook his head, then came back, then walked around again, just completely like, this is a piece of shit. And but about 50% of the critics agreed with him anyway. So,
look where he is now.
I wish Karma was a bit more instant.
grind slowly. We have time for a couple of questions, I think.
All right. No statements necessary. Ask a question, I can talk till the cows come home. And don't worry, any question is okay, but you will be judged by it. I'm kidding, go for it, girl.
About how you conceived of the visual language of the film. It's very singular.
Well, great question. It was going to be made up and I was aware of it. Because my thing was, I wanted this to be, what could have made this more commercial was if it was a contemporary film. But then when me and Nico approaching contemporary, the problem was that it became a lot more funny, and that was it. It couldn't go anywhere because I couldn't find anybody anywhere in the world who had not seen cinema. So all you could do is somebody means, a Clint Eastwood film, but you're imagining a Bollywood movie. Somebody saying this, it just kept going to that territory. And I, in advertising, had really worked so hard to kind of get a particular motif and language that I wanted to explore. So I just thought I need this child to have never seen a film, so that it's there. So that's why it ended up with everybody thinks I have this love for stuntmen, but actually it was a reversal. I just said it needs to be somewhere where nobody has seen cinema. So it went so back that it ended up inside that. And then all rules were out. There is no, at that particular time, there's no spaghetti westerns, there is no cartoons, there's nothing. And this person has no reference. You can say whatever you want. And if you say Indian, it can mean anything to them. So I took all of those. And so I just said, now we're home free. Whatever the kid says, we tell them what we think it is. And when the girl had finished telling the story, I took her around and showed all these things. And she pointed at a few, and a lot of the help came from her. Because, a lot of stuff is not written like MORPHIN. It's supposed to be E. And she said 3. And I just thought, oh, you know what? The next day she's supposed to steal the pills because she was supposed to come back with less pills. And I just said, no, she gets all of them. But then it's much more frustrating that she thought she wanted 3, so she threw them in the toilet. So all those kind of things, every day, you just had to be awake and feel her. So whatever I thought she was imagining, I went with. So the visuals were kind of there, but I needed a blank canvas. And I think that's why it became, at the time that it became. So I just needed the license.
Are you still in touch with the girl? Or?
Yes. Strangest thing. I love Katinka. She works for Watterson's, the publishing company. But you will never guess what her hobby is. She loves pole dancing. She does it as a pleasurable thing to stay fit. And she is, as I always call her, my Russian tank, and she'll go, no, you're Romanian tank. So she's wonderful, I love her, and she's incredible.
That's my favorite hobby too. So, out of all the costumes that you and Nico worked on, which would you say is your favorite?
So, which is my most beautiful child? I don't know. I can answer that question. Great question. I think that's up to you. I hope everybody's answer is not the same, and that is the beauty of what this is. I mean, one of the other things would be like, for an ending. How many people think in the end that he made it out of the hospital and worked? Just show of hands. How many people think he made it? Okay. You guys are very fucking optimistic. How many people think that he stayed there, the handicap, and nothing else ever happened, and maybe he even committed suicide? You guys are pretty pessimistic. I say it's up to you. Both the things are up there. Of course, like Buster Keaton did all his own stuff, so that's not him. So if there's one lie, I just wanted that. So to answer your question, I would say it's open. I hope it's not the same answer as somebody else. It's like, when people say, I wish everybody was, to get away from racism, I wish everybody was colorblind. I mean, that's besides the point. That is a horrible thing to wish. You want to appreciate diversity. You want some people to like tulips and some people to like roses. So, I don't know. There's people who love the cell and hate this film, and the people who love this film and hate the cell, and I go like, both my children, but hey.
So there were shots like Butterfly Reef, the stony faced priest, and some of the transitions between international locations. Were these premeditated in a storyboard, or did you come up with these after the execution of filming?
Great question. Number one, I came up with them. I don't storyboard. I can't tell own storyboards to people, but I had all the transitions.
So I kind of had them in mind on that this will get me in, this time will just be this. But by the time you go to the third act, it all needed to happen together. So it didn't need transitions. You just cut back in front of them and it would be fine. But the other one, the priest face and all that, the priest face was supposed to be a field of chilies. And it was supposed to film the chilies, and when we went to Rajasthan, that whole field was flooded. And I just said, we'll take it to the mountains. And I went to the mountain and I saw those and I just said, that's okay, so we can take that peak, and we gave the haircut to the priest, which is the worst haircut. I the person to match the poor mountaintop, and poor guy just pressed for it. So it was just, I was making it up on the spot. But the transitions aren't, I don't look for films in the edit. I do have a point of view, but the only person that's allowed to bully me on a set is actually actors. I just go, I know everything technical that needs to happen, and just not actors. I don't know how they do what they do. I think sunshine over their ass. They can bully me. So for me, the only people I leave, and I just say, this is what I have in mind, improve it, and we're good.
Hi,
Hey.
I have this book that my partner gave to me.
I'll sign it for you in the end.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I got one of those for you. There's only 3 left, and I'll give one for you and one for Stephen. For actually, this is an incredible thing. You make something like this, and everybody tells you, your child is a cripple and can't crawl, and cut to 20 years later, and he's fucking flying. So I'm like, hey, it's okay. It just took a while to find the audience that it does. It's still a bit, tunnel vision here. I'll take it.
You did 20 years ago for the New York Times.
Oh,
when
yes.
it came out. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then-
I'll sleep with you. All I can tell you is everybody, when they killed it, it was such a horrible slaughter. And it just needed to go somewhere, and I just said, this is my child, what do I do with it? And in the end, nobody wanted it for free. I just had to work for putting it out there, and now, I'll take cult classic over bestseller anytime, so I'm good.
Where did the idea for the stop motion sequence come from, and how did that come together?
I'm Indian. So everything in the kitchen sink you throw in when you can, if you've seen a Hindi movie. And for me, I was looking for no rules I defined. So when you define rules, if you've seen a Hindi movie, like most people out there will just equate that, in a serious situation, you can't have a dramatic over-the-top song. Not true. In the Hindi movie, you do it and it's fine. In the middle of a really serious situation, if you've seen the movie Disco Dancer, a dog has a flashback. It's the rules of engagement that I didn't want to go around saying that, will Hollywood accept this or no? I just thought, let's take it to a time where none of these rules applied or existed. So I went back there and I just thought, then I could go to town with it. So with that in mind, I just was thinking, we were talking over dinner, I told you that originally I had in mind, I love the Brothers Quay, and for me, the Street of Crocodiles is one of the favorite things I've ever seen. So I talked to one of the twins, and I said, this is what I would like to do, that one day I'll make this film, and when the girl falls, I will tell you the story until that particular point, and then you can take it and take off with it. And he said, okay. And then I think about 15 years since that time, since I never really got to make the movie through that time, they made a movie called Frida. And she falls. And when she falls, she had a dream, and they did the animation for it. So I kind of thought, I can't go back to them. And then I started looking for another set of animators. Lo and behold, they also happen to be twins. So it was a very close time twins, and I told them, nobody has seen the movie, but I will tell you the story through photos. And it's the only part of the film that I want to have nothing to do with. She's inside her head, and right now she's fallen down. Doctors are operating on her, she's thinking they're torturing her, and can you take it? And they took it and went somewhere else. So for me, it was just looking for something that I couldn't define. And I thought animation, claymation, anything out there would have been fine. So it kind of came to that.
Maybe one more question?
So I feel like a lot of the pacing of the film is really carried by the color grading, and I'm just wondering, how did you approach coloring the film?
Very well spotted. That is a really mad Frenchman, and he is my security blanket. So I always go to him, and they are French. So when you go and work with them, the scheduling never really applied. I would work with them, and usually when you do a Hollywood film or anything, they'll give you maybe 2 weeks, or still 4 weeks, sometimes 5 weeks for a film. These guys will work out a number, and they color graded it for me with 5 months. But a lot of days you go out there and say, what happened? He said, that guy wasn't feeling the mood today, so he's going on his motorcycle to be back in 3 hours. I'm like, oh. So it was that kind of a thing. But I had an approach. And I remember when I showed the first rough thing to Fincher, he went, oh, you should fire your cameraman. I said, absolutely not, because what happened was I worked very specifically with the cameraman, and I just said, with the film, if I overexpose it by about 1.5 stop, which every DP will freak out on, but Colin had never done anything before. He just said, what do you want? And I said, recalibrate it to 1.5 overstopped, because I've done a test with Lionel, and I can bring it back to flash, and the technology exists for me to look at it and tell you that's the look that I want. And Colin was amazing because he was just like, yes, Boston, so he would just do that. And so we shot it, and I'd already locations, and each one of these locations, 90% of them, I'd shot before and advertised in. So I would go there and I would tell people things like, the line from Godfather, where you tell people this is a paid advertisement, but I'll come and ask you for a favor, but that day may never come. But unfortunately, it didn't work in real life. When I went back to ask for a favor, a lot of those people are dead, they had moved on, nobody did the favor. So go like the agents, ask your favor today. So I ended up with all of that, but with Lionel. I specifically graded it to where he, so when Fincher said that, I said, no, I've done a test, and when I showed it to him later, he was like, completely agree, but he's kind of my security blanket. It's crazy Frenchman.
Well, let's end on security. And,
it is. I mean, for me, I look at it on something like this. I said it's to quote, my blind watchmaker, that it is your ticket to immortality. Is your memes and your genes. I mean, I already have a little Chinese boy over there. I mean, he looks nothing like me, but I swear his mind is a complete shithead. But on something like this, it is what will survive you. So if you think you can put some memes out there, that is your ticket to immortality. We are the anomaly. The genes are going to try to live on forever, and Dawkins is correct to put memes along with it.